Good evening, horror fans. It's Danny from the Lassercast, rocking my Psycho Gorman t-shirt, and here to talk to you tonight about the #1 new series on Netflix, the latest horror binge-a-thon, Archive 81. I just got done with this show. It took me about 2.5 days, and yeah, it is really freaking good. I'm going to get into that in just a minute, but before I do, go to our channel, give us a subscribe. It would be really nice. We started during the pandemic. We're trying to build a little bit of a following. Pete and I just did a live review of the new Scream. Go give that a listen to. It's loaded with spoilers, so only if you have seen the movie. And if you haven't, Charlotte and I have a review of the new Scream, spoiler-free, that we did right after we left the movie theater. We also have reviews of Screams 2, 3, and 4. Also, coming up on our channel, maybe tomorrow, it's being edited as we speak. Pete and I just recorded our top 10 of 2021. Top 10 horror films of 2021. This movie, Psycho Gorman, which is streaming now on Shudder, it makes an appearance. How high does it rank in our top 10? You'll have to watch and see. But anyway, that's the little preamble. Give us a subscribe, like the video, share it if you can. Let's talk about Archive 81. Again, I'm going to give light spoilers. I won't give major plot details. This show is based on a podcast by Dan Powell and Mark Solinger, of the same name, Archive 81. That's available on all major podcast platforms. Hey, the Lassercast is available on major podcast platforms as well, including Spotify. So you could be listening to me, or you could be watching me on YouTube. Basically, their podcast is, quote, a found footage podcast about ritual, story, and sound. And I can't think of a better one-line description of Archive 81 as a 8-episode series on Netflix. I used to be a big Netflix binge guy, but since we started this channel, I've been focusing mostly on horror movies. Really, the only shows that I've binged since Pete and I and Chris started this channel are the Mike Flanagan Netflix shows. I mean, our name is the Lassercast, which, if you didn't know, is named for the Lasser glass of Mike Flanagan and his film universe, and his TV Netflix verse. So Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, and Midnight Mass, which, my goodness, probably my favorite thing in horror in 2021 was Midnight Mass. But aside from those shows, I've been out of the binge game for a while. Let's just say, for maybe some obvious reasons, I'm out on my couch, not exactly sharing space in the house, for reasons that are obvious if you've been alive the last 2 years. And I just decided, you know what? I got to kill some time by myself. I'm in the living room. Let me just throw on Netflix, see what's big in horror. Pete and I did a James Wan-a-thon during 2021, building up to Malignant, which came out. And what really drew me to Archive 81 was the fact that James Wan was a producer for all 8 episodes. But the show is created by, the showrunner is Rebecca Sonnenshine. She's a producer on The Boys, and also she was a producer for Vampire Diaries. So she's been in the TV game in the genre field for a while. I used to watch Vampire Diaries years ago with my wife. We enjoyed it. I think I just kind of fell out of it. That's what happens with me usually. I fall out of these shows. I think that's why I enjoy binging stuff, because I can knock out 8 episodes of something in like 2 days, and I don't have to sit around and wait a week for to see what happens. A lot of times I'll get bored waiting a week. I'll just give up. But this show, man, I think it goes without saying, as a horror fan, my two of the biggest horror movie subgenres that I love, the ones that I think scare me the most, are anything to do with cults and found footage. And this is essentially a found footage cult show. And so I was hooked into this story right away. The main character of this series is Dan Turner, played by Mamoudou Athie, I believe his name is pronounced, Mamoudou Athie, and he is fantastic. His character, Dan Turner, is somebody who restores old, damaged videotapes and audio tapes. He's actually seen at the beginning working at the Museum of the Moving Image, a museum that I've been to once, probably 15 or so years ago, when I was a camp counselor at a travel camp in Brooklyn, and we went on a trip there. It's in Astoria, Queens. So it was kind of cool seeing them film in that area. And he's delivered a box of tapes. And basically he's asked, can you restore these? And he ends up getting a call from a guy, this like really mysterious guy named Virgil Davenport, played by Martin Donovan, a guy who you absolutely know. He's a Christopher Nolan guy. He's been in Insomnia and Tenet. He's been in countless other movies. I looked him up on IMDb. He has 116 credits. Guarantee you know Martin Donovan. Martin Donovan works for this mysterious corporation, LMG, who hires Dan to go through these tapes that because they can't travel, they'll be destroyed. So he has to travel to the tapes, which are in this compound. I believe it's supposed to be in upstate New York. This compound that looks like it was built by wealthy billionaires. And while he's there alone, he has to go through this box of tapes, which are supposedly recovered from a 1994 Manhattan fire at the Visser apartment complex. And as he starts to go through the tapes, the tapes were the project of a grad student named Melody Pendrus, played by Dina Shihadi, who, like Mamoudou Athie, is fantastic in this show. The two of them anchor this show. You have Dan in the modern times restoring these tapes, and then you get to watch the found footage tapes, both found footage style and regular like perspective of Melody back in 1994 at this Manhattan apartment building. And she moves into this building as a grad student, essentially to interview the people who live there. And because this is an old building, that building was built on the site of a previous fire. In reality, Melody is looking for her mother. She was put up for adoption when she was a kid, and she's been able to track her mother to that complex. So it's kind of like a hidden mission for Melody to, you know, get her grad school thesis, oral history project done on camera, but also she's investigating who and where her mother is. And effectively, she uncovers, and again, I'm not really giving anything away, this is right there in episode 1, you begin to realize that this building has a lot of hidden secrets and strange meetings and odd occurrences. And there's this song or humming or chanting that you could hear from the radiators, and that seems to be coming from inside the building, and it has an effect on those who hear it. It gives off a lot of Rosemary's Baby vibes. And speaking of Rosemary's Baby, in December, Pete and I covered the unholy trilogy of Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, and The Exorcist. and you could watch those reviews on our channel as well. It has that, creepy New York apartment building, old style apartment building, where everybody you meet has some type of, eccentricity to them and is very strange. Dan has a buddy named Matt, which I'm pretty sure Dan and Matt, Matt McGorry plays Mark, Dan's friend, and Dan and Mark, I'm sure, are stand-ins for Dan Powell and Mark Solinger, who were the creators of the podcast. But Mark runs a podcast about these kind of weird New York incidences, ghost stories, and you name it. And so he's helping Dan uncover the mysteries of these tapes from 1994. And what starts to happen is, in the tapes, Dan starts to see weird stuff, like visions, some type of being that looks like it's trying to come through the screen at times. And then there's the even weirder things where it appears that he is able to communicate with Melody, whether it's through dreams or through some other type of otherworldly scenarios. There's this cult that's going on. Dan is uncovering secrets that link back to his own past, that link back to Virgil Davenport, Martin Donovan's character, this like secret guy who gave him $100,000 to go up in the woods and dig through these videotapes. And then there's the two settings, the Visser apartment and then this compound in the woods, which are these two amazing settings, and they're so creepy because there's always just more to these buildings. The apartment building, there's always, she's told right away, Melody, in the first tape, she's told by the janitor, stay off the 6th floor. So something creepy is going on the 6th floor. There's a basement where they have a community room. And that there's some weird stuff going on in the community room. Plus, there's this chanting going on. Then there's these older videotapes, like a hidden snuff film. This show felt like Lost in a way. In the way that Lost would, at the end of every episode, Lost would set up like a new mystery. And it would have you coming back like, oh my God, not only was there the black smoke monster, but now there's a hatch. And now I have to come back next week. And now there's numbers and a code. And you have to put the numbers in. So, there was always that thing on Lost that drew you back the next week, at least for a while before it completely went off the rails. This show reminded me of that, except by the end of the 8th episode, I felt they did a really good job of like answering those questions and wrapping up with the story, but in a way where, and I won't spoil it, but all I'll say is at the end of this, they leave it in a place where I would be totally fine if this was a one and done 8-episode season. I think it's fantastic. But if they wanted to continue this, and I was online today poking around and I saw an interview with Rebecca Sonnenshine, where she talked about how like there are ideas out there already for a season 2. And I don't know if they would take like elements of a different Archive 81 podcast and like do a completely new story, or if they wanted to continue this story. I would be fine for anything. I totally dug this series. I want to shout out the directors. There were 4 directors of the 8 episodes. Rebecca Thomas directed half the episodes. I think she does the first 2 and the last 2. Episodes 5 and 6 are directed by Haifa Al-Mansour, who does a great job. And then episodes 3 and 4 were directed by Benson and Moorhead, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who have done some of my favorite genre-bending work over the last decade. Spring, The Endless, Synchronic, which came out last year, or 2021, or maybe maybe late 2020. I'm not even sure. Pandemic brain. But Benson and Moorhead, they make movies where it's like, is this horror or is this sci-fi? Is it both? There's always elements to both. There's always these kind of like alternate dimensional reality, like mixed timeline stuff in their work. And you could totally see their stamp on their episodes, having known they've been a fan of their previous movies. I was able to be like, oh, these are the Benson and Moorhead episodes, definitely. I can't say enough positive things. The best thing, that you could say about a show is, in my opinion, is, would you rewatch it? I would rewatch it because I think there's a ton of things that, now that I've gone through it, I want to like look for in the background. I've recommended the show to everyone at work. Every time we have downtime in the office at work, I'm like, have you watched Archive 81 yet? Have you started it? And I actually got some friends to already start it. So I really enjoyed it. The podcast is going into its third season, or it's already in its third season. If the show gets a second season, I will be there and I'll give it a review as well. But yeah, have you seen Archive 81? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments. Do you want to see a season 2? Do you want to see a continuation or a brand new story? I'm good either way. I freaking loved this. This was one of my favorite things that I've watched. Probably my favorite show that I've watched, binging wise, that hasn't been Mike Flanagan related in a really long time. Yeah, maybe since Santa Clarita Diet, which Netflix really needs to bring back because it was freaking great, but alas. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Archive 81, the #1 show on Netflix right now. We are going to be previewing Shudder's February schedule. Got the email with all of Shudder's exciting stuff coming in February, including a new Joe Bob special for Valentine's Day, as has been the tradition. Can't wait for that. And stay tuned. Very soon on our channel is going to be our top 10 horror films of 2021. Find out where Psycho Goreman ends up. Watch Psycho Goreman on Shudder and watch Archive 81 on Netflix and let me know what you think. This has been Danny from the Lacercast, and I'll talk to you very soon.